So, Les, I think I'm getting some audio from you.
Yeah, you know what? I just got some
Now,
messages. Can you hear me?
I can. I'm going to hang my
Okay,
phone up front, okay?
great. Okay,
Right.
awesome.
Good.
That's wild. Okay. Hey, so
Yay!
I'm not muted. So guess what?
It
It
happened,
was
but
me. It wasn't you because
oh,
yeah,
good.
isn't that crazy? All right, so I need to retire this headset. Thank you, Cindy Danner Kuhn, for sending me a text, and the others who commented. Um, yes, well, so all right.
Okay.
Isn't it embarrassing in front of other people when things
I was
screw
so
up and
glad.
don't work?
I just feel
Yay!
like a tech fool because I
Oh
couldn't
my
figure it out.
gosh.
So,
Well, I should have swapped mine too. I mean, I was okay. So I went to anyway. I'm hearing you on my headset, but I'm using my built-in mic.
oh,
Okay. So lesson learned. I guess just connect a little bit earlier and start sooner. So I'm glad everyone could hear Amy. That's good. And if you guys are putting in the chat, let us know if this is coming through on the Hangout as well. It should be if Amy's hearing me. So, all
mhm.
right. So my situation is real similar to Amy's. I am this year I have 24 classes in our school. The difference is I don't see all the students. Okay, great. Yay, Cindy says it works. I only see half the kids each semester. So last year we had 22 classes, which gave us a couple breaks during the day, or during the week, which was nice. And I saw each class twice a week. This year, I'm still on the same rotation of seeing half the kids for a semester, and then the other half the next semester. But we're basically on an A-B schedule where I see the students every other day. So last year kind of seems a little bit like a dream because like twice a week we had one planning period. This time we're planning at the beginning of the day, but starting at 8:50, then I have 5 classes straight until 1 o'clock, and then 50-minute lunch, and then another class. So um, it and then we had a planning day each week. So we were doing that with ISS. So we rotated our special teachers, and the idea was kids could have a break from their teacher and their situation by hanging out with a special teacher who would then special teacher who would have time to do some planning. So anyway, it feels like a lot less planning, but the schedule. It's certainly better starting the year this way. It's harder to come in, mid-year and start in November. We're about to have our OTA Encyclomedia Conference, which is our statewide library technology conference in Oklahoma, and that was really when Amy said, "Hey, have you applied for this job?" And so it's kind of like the year anniversary. So it's been a lot of learning. And the other thing this year that's different is I am really, and we can talk more about this, but I'm utilizing my second classroom a lot. Amy's classroom is really large, and how many computers do you have in your room? Like,
I have 29.
my gosh.
I know.
So, and
It
lots
takes
of
me
room on the
4 years to
floor.
get 29 computers.
Oh, absolutely.
Finally,
Yeah. And I've got 4 now, and I've got them in a Minecraft area. So I'm doing a Minecraft studio, and we've been doing a different rotation. We just finished our first rotation. So anyway, we're in similar situations. I guess I'd say, the best thing so far has been, the kids' excitement for STEM and, um, you know, having some kids say they wish they came every day and they wish they could do STEM all day long, and then I've had several kids doing projects at home. So we've been doing catapults and kids. I had a couple girls that made 2 videos on their iPad, and it's just like a web show. You can tell how they're all into watching YouTube shows, but they just explained, how they done their design, and they did their practice launches, and I've had a couple kids make Rube Goldberg projects. So anyway, amidst the chaos, I think it's good, and we've certainly got kids very excited about building and making. So, how have you started the year this year, Amy? And what is your beginning of the year, procedure series look like for kids? Because that's something that I'm definitely stealing ideas from. And the whiteboard for the bathroom has worked great this week because we finally got that up. And that was just one. It's a small thing, but all those small things really add up to streamline how your classroom runs. So.
absolutely. And when we only see the kids for 50 minutes at a time, any kind of time-saving procedures we have are just so important. And so, like some of the things that I do at the beginning, I do, as Wes was talking about, I actually have a whiteboard on my door, and if the kids go to the restroom or if they basically leave the room, they write their name on there. There's only one kid, one boy and one girl that can be out at a time, but then if there's ever a fire or some kind of, drill or emergency, I can look at the board and know who's out, so I know who I'm looking for. That's a super helpful thing. The other thing is, though, we spend the first class period, I do kind of an introduction video where since I do have 24 classes, I tell them about myself and kind of what STEM means and the expectations, and instead of having to say it that many times, I make a little video. And then we spend the first day actually making groups, and we make these groups that we're going to use for the whole year. And the way we do that is I send them to the tables. And so then we have 8 tables in my room, and I send them to the tables, and I tell them then once everybody has at least 3 people in their group, we're writing this down as our blue group. So then everybody knows when they work with blue groups, they're going to work at table 1 or work at table 5, and they're going to be with Wes and Sally. Those are our blue group partners, and every time we do blue groups, we're always going to work with Wes and Sally at table 5. And so I do that, and then I make them rotate to find brand new people, which when we did our teacher workshop this summer was probably one of the harder things too, because they didn't want to leave their friends.
It's a human nature thing, regardless of age. We want to stick with our comfortable people.
And so I make them do that, and they rotate, and then we make red groups. And so the rule is they have to find brand new people 4 times, because we make 4 different groups, and then we have a partner. And so every time we change a project, we change groups. But then I know we don't have to spend time in class any other day making those groups. It's a sheet that's in their STEM binder. We always know, and even if those kids that lose stuff or oh, I don't remember, I don't know, well, there's usually at least 2 other people in the groups, and then we can ask, hey, who had Wes in their group? And the kids will raise their hand and say, oh, they're supposed to be with us.
Right.
And at least somebody knows, so it's not having to start from scratch every time. That was a complete time management thing that I figured out the second year in, because I just hated having to spend that time or them fighting over, oh, I don't want to work with this person today. So then we have that fight the first day, but then we get past it and we're able to work that out and move past that then too. So
absolutely, and that is something I thought I had enabled the Q&A, and I don't think I did, but there is something new in the Hangout called a showcase, and I think you should be seeing a link to our STEM Seeds PD camp. So that was, without a doubt, the #1 biggest transforming thing, and it sounds small, but it's not, that Amy had shown and we did. I've been using that with my kids, because last year, I really believe in choice, and I like to give kids choice, but whether they're adults or they're kids, when you give people choices, like we said, they'll tend to just sit with their friends, and they won't, oh, I think I'll sit with people I'd have never talked to before, and work with them. That doesn't happen. So we were changed for the beginning of the year. This year we did the same thing. We filled out our grouping sheets in colors, and something else Amy showed me with the paint pen was actually writing the number of my tables. I have 9 tables, and so I wrote on that with the paint pen, because I thought about putting something up in the air, but sometimes the tables move, and anyway, it's just nice to have that on the table. And so probably for the first 3 weeks, as we came in, certainly the first 2 weeks, we were doing a different color set, and we were getting used to sitting with red and sitting with blue and sitting with our green groups, and how all that changed. And then for our first lesson cycle, we've been with our red groups, which wasn't the first one, because the first group that the kids do is their buddy group.
That's right.
And they're still buddies, in their second group. But the link that you should hopefully see in the little showcase for the Hangout is camp.stemseeds.org, and we are going to do another camp next summer in early June. We're going to get that date hopefully set either the first or second week of June, and we'll do it in Yukon again. We're going to write a grant that's a Cox grant to see if we can get funding, not only so we could get paid a little bit to do it, but also so teachers can have some equipment and can be funded. But whatever, I mean, we're gonna charge some money this time, but we may get a grant to help supplement that. To me, being back in the classroom, it's so evident. Like, there is almost no good time during the week to have professional development. I mean, there are conferences, but there's no comparison to summertime when you don't have the stress and pressure of having to, worry about your sub-plans and going back into the classroom. So it will be at least 2 days, maybe it'll be 3, and be looking for that. So that, for me, that has been the biggest change, and what it's helped establish in the classroom is that it's normal for us to change our groups. It's normal for us to work with other people. It's normal for us to have girls in our group or boys in our group. And that may seem like such a small thing, but it's really not, because at the end of last year, I did assign some groups for a Minecraft lesson that we did, and it was like saying, here, will you let me cut your arm or burn a tattoo on your wrist? I mean, kids were like, oh my gosh, it was not part of what we did. It wasn't normal, and so I got so much pushback. So that's been good.
Well, I'll mention too, just because of where we are in the year, we're doing playground design unit. And I haven't taught it before, and it has turned into quite a monster. It's taking way longer than I had planned for, and so the kids, we're working in our green groups, which would be like the third group in. So you might like the person you're working with, but most likely it's just because I forced you to go to a new place. So these kids that have worked like 6 class periods now with their green group, there's been Thursday I had 3 different kids crying during class. And then on Friday, I only had 1. Well, just because their group won't listen to them. And it's a personal thing, and that is probably one of the hardest parts of our job, I would believe, is because everything is collaborative. There's very few things that we do in STEM just because of the sheer. I have 640 kids. The sheer amount of kids that come through my room. There are very few times that we do things completely by ourselves. Right. And so there's almost always a collaborative aspect to that, and it is not easy when your idea is not the one your group takes. And these are still 4th and 5th graders are still very sensitive to that. And there was 3 kids on Thursday crying, and that's the group that I had missed 2 times because I was sick. So that's where I found out, kind of was like, well, what the sub had told them and what I would have told them wasn't exactly the same thing. So there was just the gnashing of teeth and crying on Thursday. But it's been an interesting thing, which makes me really ready to move on to another unit. But we have to get the end product still.
Yeah, and that is definitely, I think, one of the most important things that we just try to build into the DNA of STEM is working in collaborative groups and not being able to just say I'm by myself, because in the Catapult, project and with other things too, there are kids that would prefer to just not work with others.
Absolutely.
And that's not a choice. I mean, so well, let's get into a little bit more as far as what those initial lessons are looking like, and you can talk about the playground stuff a little bit, and I'll talk about catapults and
that's great.
Studio. So.
Well, I usually start the year off with a big measurement unit, and then I usually go back right before testing and hit measurement again. I try to be a resource for the teachers, the classroom teachers, and really back that up. Coming from the classroom, I know hands-on measurement was always something I wanted to do more of and just didn't have time. But this year, I decided I was going to do that later in the year, so we jumped right into the playground unit. Our intentions now, as it's developed, my intention when we started this unit wasn't necessarily to get the kids to design a playground for us to put on our playground, but it's kind of turned into that. And now we've applied to be able to raise money, and we're going to raise money to build one of the students' designs on our playground, which has made this from a learning experience that was fun in STEM to this is real life experience now. We're talking about how big equipment really is, what the use is, how many kids can really play on it, what the cost would be, and so there's been a lot of math involved with that. There's been a lot of sketching. They have to write a description of their playground equipment. So it's a very integrated unit. It's got a lot of really great stuff in it. It just is taking so long because 50 minutes a time, even when I'm trying to help them and I'm rotating from, I have 8 tables there and I'm working with each group individually as much as I can, but I need to replicate myself. Sometimes there's just not enough of me to get to everywhere we need to get to, and a lot of what we're doing is stuff that I need to sit and talk to the kids by group. So it's been just honest. when we start new stuff, this has been kind of a frustration point for me, this unit, because the idea is such an amazingly great idea, but like if you did it for your classroom, maybe not with 24 classes, or even right now I'm just doing it with the 12, but saying the same thing and doing the same thing 6 times in a row is wearing down my enthusiasm for the project. So.
Yes, yes. Well, that's something Chris Simon, who had been at Independence where I am before, he talked about it being like Groundhog Day, you know, when you have that so many times. And what I realized last year and this year too, planning, is I better love every lesson that I'm going to choose to do, because it's not like you're gonna say, oh, did that once, it's over. It's like it keeps on going and going and going. So, well, I want to talk a little bit about the integrated lesson deal with the catapults, because there was, Amy and I did different things, and just like with this hangout, like I'm glad we've got some people watching, and there'll probably be some people who will watch the later part. I may have to trim off the beginning since I was mute and silent, but it's great just to have a chance to collaborate and get ideas and share. The catapult unit was one that Amy did, and last year, and I'm doing the same thing this year, I'm doing the same lessons with both 4th and 5th grade. So what that means is I have to do different things each year, because I'm going to get those kids again, most of my kids again. The way that my schedule is, teaching 5 back-to-back, I have basically no clue how I would be, shifting equipment and resources. It's really it's challenging, but it works better to do the same thing. So the catapult unit, I thought originally we were going to do a 3-day cycle. Amy had suggested a 4-day. Gosh, we have to have 2 days to build. So we followed the model where the first day is awareness and research, and we're using Google Images to see catapults. There's videos. There was a life-size trebuchet launch, and then I used a video of somebody building a popsicle catapult, because I should say these are small catapults. We're using clothespins and popsicle sticks, hot glue, duct tape. They can use paper towel rolls, and all of this is coming from Amy. There's a STEM store, and so 2 of the best things about this is definitely they have 1,000 STEM dollars, and they go to the store and they decide what to get, and they have to stay in their budget. One of the biggest challenges I blundered into last year was helping kids not waste resources. Communism doesn't work. And when there's unlimited, like we did kitchen chemistry with salsa, and I had all this salsa that I got from Taco Bell and Taco Cabana or whatever, and like after the first day it was all gone. I'm like, what is going on? We said use 1, and anyway, when kids don't have these limits, then they're just like, woohoo, and they'll just use a ton. So that has been really good, limiting the resources, having kids deliberately think about what they're going to, how they're going to use those funds, and then having a little bit of math, because it's hard. They're not used to filling out, okay, I'm getting 1 of these, and or 2 of these, and it's going to be this much. And the other piece that has been so good, so we did the research day, 2 days of building with teams, and then the day we just did, Thursday and Friday, was launching.
Oh, yeah.
We launched for accuracy, and we launched for distance. Now, the way I'm doing it, and I'm also loving it this year, because I'm splitting my class in half. Half of my class is in the Maker Studio next door at one of 5 centers, and we introduced all those at the start of the year, and so I've had to be moving back and forth, between my rooms, and it's been chaotic, but it's also, except for, in general, it's been really good. I want my kids to have unstructured exploration and making time, and this time there aren't specific challenges around what they're doing in each one, and I can talk more about those. But anyway, I'm only working with 15 kids that are left in the room, which is much different than working with 25 or 30.
Yeah.
So but the good thing about the launches the last 2 days was, oh my gosh, do our kids need a practice measurement? I bet one child out of 15 or 2 knew there are 36 inches in a yard. Now, I wanted to measure in centimeters, but hey, I don't have any meter sticks that I could find, so that's on my my buy list, which I'm still working on for this year.
You have tape measures. The ones I have inches on one side and centimeters on the other.
Thank you for reminding me of that, because that's true. When we did the cantilever spans, that's the cloth ones or plastic ones. You're right. So the wooden ones I've got.
That's what we use. That's what we use, because then sometimes it's longer than a meter. So
it's been good actually to do inches, because I know scientists use the metric system, of course, but the United States hasn't transitioned to the metric system, and I don't think we are. And it's still important for kids to know, inches and feet and yards. So, just when you dabble into this, using measurement purposefully. The way I did this, Amy had loaned me her Angry Birds target, which is just printed and colored on a big piece of cardboard. It's at one end of the room, and then I used duct tape to measure out yards. Mm-hmm. And so after the kids shot, then they said how many yards and then how many inches. Then we got that, and then we came up to the board, and I was writing for them, but they worked the multiplication problem. This next version, I think I'm going to have them do it on the back of their sheet. But that's really good, because even though we've said how many inches are there in a yard, the group of 2 or 3 gets up there and like, okay, guys, what do I need to multiply? And they're just like, they don't know. So anyway, it's reinforcing ideas about word problems, how we set it up, how we solve them. We're using our multiplication, of course, tables. We're adding. The one thing that I'm going to write a blog post about this. I have really enjoyed using the iPads with Google Forms to have students submit their results. Last year, when we did cantilever spans and the kids were measuring how long their spans were, I would have them call out their lengths, and I wrote them in a Google spreadsheet. And then we could sort them and see, who got the best or whatever. And by the way, we did do prizes for the most accurate and the most distance. And I had forgotten peanut allergies. We didn't have a crisis, but we did have one student, because we had some Snickers. I had a tub of candy. Anyway, the teacher told me it's not a proximity allergy. It's a ingestion allergy. Anyway, that's huge. That could be a serious, classroom fail.
If you wanted to go STEM Wall of Fame, that's what I would do, is take a picture of those kids in their catapult and put it out on the bulletin board. If you have to maintain a bulletin board, which I don't know if you do or not.
I don't, but I have taken pictures of each group after they've gotten their prizes and awards, and we can talk about that too, because in every class I had kids saying, "Don't we all get candy? Don't you want us all?" Someone said, "Aren't we all winners?" I was like, "Yes, you are all winners, but I want to recognize those." And I bought this at Walgreens with my own money, and I don't have enough to get everybody a candy bar.
Yeah.
So anyway, I used a Google form, and I had the kids with select the answers, from a multiple choice, what their homeroom teacher is, their table. And I had them, if they were in groups if they had 4 at their table, I had them work in partners. So everyone was in a group of 2 or 3, actually, for building their catapults. But that way, they submitted it, and whether it was for distance or accuracy, using their iPads, mm-hmm. Put it into the spreadsheet. And yesterday after school, I actually, figured out the averages, and, having them do some of that spreadsheet stuff would be valuable at some point too. But I guess I'm just saying, I love the way the budget is in that. I love the way the math is, because here we are in STEM class. We're having our first impressions of what we're doing. We're making, physical objects and designing stuff with the engineering design process. We're using math to calculate our distances and to talk about our scores, and we're using our technology in an authentic way. We did it for our research to get our ideas, and we're using it to process our results. So anyway, I have loved it. I think the first unit that we choose to do is a really important one, because it is going to kind of set the frame for kids as well as parents of, what is this? Am I going to like this? And so there was a lot of excitement for the Maker Studio, but I think we've had a lot of excitement for kids too, as far as launching catapults. And I'll say this. Some of my girls have done the best designs. If for whatever reason, my 4th graders, and you can see the averages, they just did a lot better than the 5th graders. And I think some of it was just the time that they took. I don't know exactly what the reason for this is, but I do know that when you compare the designs and you just look at the shelf of where the kids' stuff, is laying, I don't know. Some of the fifth graders some of my groups just didn't put a lot of time and thought into it, and even when you sit down, well, what are you going to do? How are you going to fix this? I don't know, and then we've got these other kids that are they've really thought it through, and maybe they've copied, something else, but they've also done it their own way, and that is, that STEM is design. So I'm loving it, and I think that it's been a great way to kick off the year.
Yeah. Well, and something when you're mentioning about them not knowing 3 feet is a yard and not having any idea about that, we actually, as part of this unit, went out and measured our playground and used the trundle wheels and used my big tape measures and did measurement and talked about, okay, so every click we use the trundle wheels and just estimated, because a trundle wheel is technically
what's a trundle wheel?
Well, it has a handle and it has a circle and it's 1 meter around. So and you push it and it clicks every time it's 1 meter.
So that's like what at the police would be there to sort of make measurements, or surveyors.
It's like a big plastic wheel that's
cool.
1 meter around.
That's awesome.
So, but I told the kids, I said, yes, it measures a meter, but we're going to use it to estimate yards. So we're going to call it a yard every time it clicks to give us an idea, because I wanted to talk about yard, and then we're eventually going to convert and do our models. 1 square is 1 foot. So I wanted them to start thinking about scale. I mean, this unit is more than, I bit off a little more than I intended to chew, I think. But it's okay, we're getting there. But when we did that, and I would come back in and say, okay, well, how many feet is in a yard? And we would try to talk about, what does that mean? How big is our swing set compared to this? Is that enough room for safety? And it would be crickets. What is 3 times 5? Crickets. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
We need our multiplication facts so much. So that's where when I would talk to the classroom teachers, and they're like, oh my gosh, we are failing so much in this. We don't know this. And I'm telling them, yeah, I'm seeing it, because we are struggling majorly with what we're doing as well. So I think that's where, with us using that math in such a practical way, it helps them know why they might need to know that. It's something we learn.
Oh, definitely. It's all contextual. Everything has a purpose. Nothing is like, why are we doing this?
Right.
So we've got a question from somebody in the chat, Ellen Sears. But before I read that, I thought of an idea which might, with Google. Have you used Google SketchUp before or played with SketchUp?
I haven't, but I'd love to know more. I don't know a lot about the Google products. I need to find out more.
So SketchUp lets you draw in 3 dimensions in the real world, and so your kids, now that you've measured the space that you have, you could block out that space, kind of like you would in Minecraft, but I mean you can make a perimeter, and then they can build to scale, what they think they might do. So maybe we can chat about that a little bit, or that could be.
I would love that. That may be the way that that may be what the kids whose projects are chosen, whenever we go to present them to the school, because 1 project from each class is going to be chosen.
Right.
You may need to make a Google SketchUp for it.
Absolutely, because those SketchUp objects can then be put in Google Earth, so you can actually draw your scaled drawing, and then it can go there. That would be neat. And I love the fact you're going outside. For those of you maybe new to STEM Seeds, we started, and we're going to do this with some interviews. We'll try to get the semester set up if we can, hopefully to do 1 a month. But when we interviewed Henry Ingwerson, who's in Wells, Maine, with all these beautiful trees, they're doing citizen science, I thought, oh, I've got to get outside with my kids. So I think it's great that you've gotten the kids outside. And I don't know, I love that playground project for so many reasons, from the motivation standpoint of the kids being interested and buy-in, from the way that ties into construction, the need for outdoor play, the need for equipment. There's so many. All right, let me read this question. Ellen Sears says, do you include self-assessment of group work and the use of tools and materials as part of the daily reflection? Are the students involved in creating the group norms and expectations for the group work? So there's a couple questions there. How do you do self-assessment of group work, Amy? Do you? or daily reflections?
And I have a group collaboration rubric that I use that talks about, that's kind of how I assess them, that I look to see, if they're a 1, 2, 3, or 4, if they are collaborating with their group, giving good ideas. Are they keeping the group from getting the work done because they're not doing their part? Are they being a person who listens to other people's ideas and helps incorporate them, or do they just shut that down? And so I have that, and I've created it on Rubastar. So I will try to get that, and if I know we don't have a Google Doc for this one, but I may be able to add it to the STEM Seed Showcase, and I can put that on there. That's a group collaboration rubric. Sure. That's part of what I do, but we talk about it as a class too. This is what I'm looking for when I come around to your group. I'm looking to see if you guys are doing this. And in the past, I've had actually the kids, I've had them rate themselves and rate the other group members at the end of a project.
Good. That's good.
And then I know, because I can't be everywhere all the time, but I know if everybody in the group says that Bob did a 2, he didn't do...
Bob didn't do jack.
Exactly. Bob didn't do anything, but Bob's rated himself a 4 on everything. Right. I know better, and I know, and it's not just because everybody hates Bob. It's because Bob's not doing his job.
Yeah, so, that's right.
I've done it both ways. Of course, it's an ever-evolving thing, and so I am required to give actual A, B, C, D, F grades. So everything that I do, let me say this, I'm required to give those grades, but not expected to give below an A. So it's kind of a dual-edged sword, because parents get very upset. Because
really? I didn't know that.
Class, and I don't know why my grade... Okay, so...
That's kind of a universal thing for parents, isn't it?
Mind you,
all our children exceed the norm.
My principal will support me as long as I have something documented to show why that student did not receive an A.
Sure.
But it's at the same time, okay, is it worth the fight with the parents to try to prove a point when we can just take care of it in class and deal with what we need to in class?
Right.
So, yes, they get real grades, but they're still, I have ways to back it up, but it's still largely participation grades.
Right, right. And I guess when we think about assessment, and I'll talk just real quickly about KidBlog. Last year, I did set up a class blog with KidBlog for every class. I say it was overwhelming. My wife, who's wonderful to help me think about things, has told me to think about, moderating my KidBlogs is just like grading papers. I'm fortunate that I don't have to. I'm giving kids grades. They're largely participation grades. There were some students who didn't, get A's last year, but they were ones that were kind of off the reservation in terms of cooperation and participation. They were just off.
I had it as well, so.
Yeah. Which was documented. But anyway, our librarian is going to be doing interactive writing with students this year, so I went ahead and set those up again. That right now, my kids today know how to post on KidBlog from the computer lab, how to use the app on the iPad to post a picture with a sentence. We also did audio boos early, and I don't know how many of them will remember that. And something I'm going to working on are some anchor charts that I'll make as printable and then have those out. So if other people want them, like, how do I post a picture using KidBlog? The KidBlog app reduces the size of the picture, and so even when we did screenshots in Minecraft EDU, anyway, what I hope to do and will be doing more of is using the KidBlog as a place to do some reflection on our lessons. But I need that encouragement to think about the group evaluation, because I haven't done that. We may not do that here for the Catapult unit for this first one, but I think I will do that as part of my second one, because I want to build in that reflection part. It's an important piece of the engineering design process, and if we don't reflect and we don't analyze and then have it, and then reiterate, recreate or whatever. And I think accountability, knowing that we've got some accountability with our group and stuff like that, is important too.
And I think, Wes, I'll say with that Catapult unit, I've done in the past kind of a final report, either that or with Egg Drop for sure, and asked the kids, did your sketch match your final design? Kind of asking them, how they had changed it. But also then, would you have spent your money differently? Did you
that's good.
wisely? If not, What
Right.
would you have purchased instead to make it more effective? You know, and kind of thinking through it like that as well. I know I did that with Egg Drop. I'm not sure if I did it with Catapults too or not, but
Right. Do you, and here's a question, how much do you introduce there with kids with levers and with, we see the different designs, but how much vocabulary and how much concepts of what makes a powerful catapult versus, because
I
I
will be
didn't do much
honest,
of that.
I haven't done much of it either.
Yeah.
I have a PowerPoint that, or like a smartboard file that I would show the kids that had some basic terminology because the second year I taught STEM, we had to pre-test and post-test everything. There's been some kind of things have evolved at different points in time, and so when they made us try to go to regular ABCDF grades and we had to pre-test and post-test everything, I had to be very purposeful in the words, the vocabulary that I gave the kids to make sure that they knew what that was when they were going to be tested on it.
Right, right.
So,
Well, and
other
for
than
you all
that,
to know,
yeah.
Amy is super organized, and she has a great workbook of activities, for each of her grades, and which you're modifying, but still, you really have your year, kind of laid out as far as what you're planning.
Sure, until the playground unit takes 10 class periods instead of 6. So
That's right.
then it's like, whatever, what's in the book is what's in the book. So
And we've been, we were doing our, what was it called? Mapping, curriculum mapping and things. I'm going to put another link in the showcase in the Google Hangout, which is my curriculum site, and there's some information about Maker Studio and also the other units. So basically, it's mostly from last year, but if you go to the Catapults page, you can see a little bit there. I don't know. I've got my calendar planned out, and the thing about doing this rotation with Maker Studio is it cuts the number of units about in half. So I think there's really 7 major units that I'm going to be able to do with students this year. I kind of think we may be doing the coding and doing hopscotch and stuff like that. But I wanted to start with a building one first. But it's good to talk about that reflection piece because that's not something that I have built in right now, and I need to do that. So if anybody has any other questions, with the Google Hangouts, kind of as a technical note, they've added this showcase, and you have to enable these things. You have to enable before you start the Hangout. There's a Q&A, but I don't know that I've ever successfully started it. I thought I had clicked, enable it before we began, but anyway, that's part of the fun of doing these, I guess, is getting to learn more about Google Hangouts and how they work. So if you've got other questions, go ahead and post them. Cindy says Amy should publish that as an iBook. I wonder. Cindy, are you talking about the playground unit? Where did the idea for the playground unit come, Amy?
well, originally from a student. There was a student who we were kind of talking. I was talking with the parents. We're trying to figure out ways to get the parents more involved in our school because we have, being a 4-5 center, we don't have a lot of parent involvement. They're super involved at the elementary level, and then they kind of say, well, they're only going to be there 2 years, and they don't necessarily jump in. And so one of the students said, well, if we did a playground design where the kids' designs are the ones that we use, parents are going to be excited about that. They're going to want to raise money. They're going to want to do that. And I was like, okay. So I kind of put that idea in the back of my mind. It was a 4th grader, so he's a 5th grader now. And then I did some research, and actually the unit that I ended up pulling to use as kind of the framework was from Teachers Pay Teachers. And so that would be part of why not everything I do is original to me.
Right.
A lot of this stuff is I've taken a small idea from somebody else and expanded it into something that can happen in our class or modified it. But when the idea didn't originate with me, I feel a little bit uncomfortable claiming it completely as my own because I don't think it's good. And so although it is printed in our curriculum that we use at the school, as far as putting it out there as by Amy Leffelholtz, I'm not sure exactly how I could get my out.
Right.
But now I'll tell you, I've modified that unit that I did from Teachers Pay Teachers. There's good information there. It's just not practical for what I'm doing. And so I've had to modify it quite a lot, and that's okay. But it's helped us get at least a little bit of a framework for what we want to do with this unit. So.
Right. Well, I shared the link to our STEM Seeds camp earlier, and there's a lot of handouts that we've got there, and something.
Curriculum books are on there.
They are, and you know, there's going to be space for people to make money and to sell things and to write books for profit, but there's so much more space, I think, for teachers to be sharing lesson ideas and, you know, remixing things and, you know, and iterating on ideas and things like that. So, let's see. Sam says he's not seeing the showcase. Okay, I don't know.
And I clicked on Showcase, Wes, but it says no items are featured yet. Check back again later.
Okay, well that's weird because I have this saying show item. This item is show. Okay, so there it says show. Huh. All right. Well, this is the first time I've seen this showcase thing, so I don't know if it's supposed to show up in the sidebar or if people have to click it on the side. Pardon me. We will be posting this Google. Pardon me. Gosh, I'm gonna cough. Posting this Google Hangout on stemseeds.org, and we'll include links to different resources and things like that we've talked about. So we'll include those. Those may be more helpful than what we're doing live. Two other comments from the Google Plus page. Ellen Sears, who had asked about having the students involved in creating group norms and expectations, said that complaints, tiers, etc. were addressed differently when it became student-owned as far as how the group's working through difficulties, and it gave students a common language and ways to take care of its group and helped in sub-situations. I totally am up for that, but it's so hard to do when you've got, you know, I've got 12 classes every 2 days, you've got 24.
Well, I do 12 too, Wes. I just do them every other 9 weeks. We just split every other 9 weeks instead of by semester.
Okay, that's right. That's true. That's true. But it's hard. I mean, with that many kids, like when you have your own, you know, class of 20 or 25 or whatever, maybe I'm just making an excuse, and maybe I should make time to set those norms. But
I'll tell you, addressing Ellen there, I have, and I've used in the past, what I call group procedures, that there is like a procedure for how to decide on which design we're using. Everybody makes a sketch on their own, then they present that to the group, and they use a talking card, and then they vote, and then the person whose sketch is the one who is chosen, that person becomes the team captain, and thus the person who delegates jobs to everyone else. And so I had to develop that after I had a 4th grade student punch another kid in the face because he didn't take his idea. So I had to come up with something that would keep our hands off of each other. And so I used that prolifically last year. I just haven't used it yet this year because with the playground design, everybody got to add something. They had to have 6 pieces of equipment, so everybody got to add something to it. So it wasn't just like one design that that you just get to build one catapult. And so I've used that with my building egg drop and catapult and things like that.
That is great. Another comment from the chat is that Cindy Danner-Kuhn says that I had helped convince her to use KidBlog with her 156 pre-service teachers this year, and it's working well, much easier than WordPress that she used last year. She's had her students set up separate WordPress sites for reflections and postings. I had done that as well, teaching pre-service teachers. What I found was that it's sort of like people just out on their own in their own space and kind of shouting into the darkness. When you have a class site, it makes everyone's posts more visible and increases the likelihood that they're not only going to be seen, but that someone will comment on them. And I think a critical part of interactive writing is feedback. I mean, without feedback, it's not interactive. It's one way. And so anyway, I'm excited that Cindy is doing that, and I think it's good for us to iterate and play, you know, at different levels and different situations. There's not always going to be a one-size-fits-all. But you know, when I've been teaching graduate classes, and you know, with the iPad Media Camps, even with our STEM Seeds camp, we used a KidBlog. That's been one of the most important things that teachers have taken away is, wow, this is really powerful to have a place where we can share ideas, put a picture, put a link, have a video, and then have the feedback. So something I worked on finally last night, and I'm going to actually finish it this weekend, is we've got 24 KidBlogs now. So, and really 12 of them are in use because the kids that don't have STEM have not been with me to go through the process of how to post and comment and share and change their display name and all this. There's something that's called Yahoo Pipes. I was explaining this to my children at breakfast today. And basically, a website creates a feed of information. And what you don't want is for people's ideas, like for a student to, post something and to be really compelling and nobody sees, nobody knows it. It's like, if a tree falls in the whatever in the forest, nobody's there to hear it. Does it make noise? So yeah, what I did was I used Yahoo Pipes to take the feeds from all of our 5th grade blogs and put it together. It's like a single river, and I'm going to embed that this week on our homepage for our school site and do the same thing with 4th grade. And what I hope to do, so like be before Christmas, is to have an app that will allow parents and others to see, here's what the kids have written. Everything's moderated, but anyway, the whole kid blog piece, it's important from a reflection standpoint and really to amplify what we're doing and have the kids explain it. I certainly learned this last year, just doing a simple 3-slide narrated slideshow about a cantilever span project. It was really challenging for the kids to use the vocabulary words and explain their process and then reflect on their thinking. But I think it's bigger than just STEM because it's beneficial for all of our classes to have that place to share. So Monday I'm coming over with Amy. She set up her blogs and do the technical little import from Power School to get their kids moved over. And so I feel like this is something where as STEM teachers, potentially, and no, nothing is going to be seized a hold of by everyone and, revolutionize the school tomorrow, but helping more teachers have a space where their kids write and they give feedback and they see each other's work and they provide feedback is a big deal, and I'm excited that that's moving forward because if I was looking in a crystal ball, definitely one of the things I see is that every classroom has a space where kids are sharing their work and they're getting feedback, and we're taking baby steps towards that. But I tell you, and this has happened every year, there are some kids that get set on fire with excitement for that, like this last week they were asking, can I blog again? Can I post about my music? Can I share this? It's like, oh, could you write for for fun? Yeah, I think I'll let you do that. All right, well, we'll see if we've got any other questions, and then it's about 11. Oh gosh, have we gone for an hour? Oh my gosh.
Well, we had a hard time getting started, so I don't know if we technically have gone for an hour. So.
Okay. Well, I guess we should get close to wrapping up. Well, what are you doing next, Amy? And how much longer do you foresee Playgrounds going, and what's next?
Okay. Well, my hope is, because if we don't get an end product, then we've wasted our time. And
right.
So my hope is that we will be done we're not going to be done by the end of next week, but maybe the week after that. And then honestly, I don't know how much time I'm going to have left this 9 weeks. My fear is that we're not going to get anything else done. I want to spend a couple of days and get the blogs really set up with the kids, show them how to use them,
right.
and use that. And then I really think I might try to do kitchen chemistry and squeeze it in, because it would be something that it's a set rotation that I'm stealing your kitchen chemistry unit.
Yay.
While I was gone, when I was sick, I left a YouTube playlist of Steve Spangler videos. So the kids are super excited about Steve Spangler right now. And so I thought, well, that might be a good way. And the kitchen chemistry would be something I don't think a sub could do. But since we're going to be gone the 7th and the 8th, I'm trying to figure out what's going to happen while I'm gone during the sub time as well. But my thinking is I think we can squeeze kitchen chemistry in this 9 weeks and actually get to do that. So at least we get something else done. I'm afraid if we start another building project, we're not going to get done before the 9 weeks is over and we have to switch. Since we switch at fall break, I get a new set of kids then. And then I will have the playground unit honed into this beautiful, no more than 8 class period, hopefully, unit, because I know what we have to do, and I know what I could take out. I know where I can trim the fat and make it more effective.
And it may be that some of your kids, not everybody, but that some of them can do some of that Google SketchUp stuff, for some of their final products.
It would be kind of awesome if we could do that with the group, because we have 8 groups in each class. And so I told them, I said, we'll choose one project from each class to then kind of look at and vote on. Having a Google SketchUp would make an amazing difference in how it's presented and also, honestly, how it's presented to parents to raise.
Absolutely. That's right. Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. Well, what was I going to say?
How about you? What are you doing for the rest of the?
Oh gosh, I'll have to look at my calendar. I'm gonna. I wanted to kind of alternate. I mean, I want to. Let's see, what do I have next? Catapults. I've got hopscotch. So
Okay.
if people don't know, well, last year I used the code.org website to introduce the kids to coding. So one of the real challenges is not just dipping too shallow into things and spending enough time to really get to make and create. So I want to do hopscotch earlier. Um, there's a fun game our PE teacher either borrowed or invented. I don't know, called Carousel, which is this is gonna be my first app for hopscotch. Well, I've done some other fun ones, but this is basically, when the kids are waiting in line, you call out something like, okay, who has the color orange on their pants or shirt? Who has the letters R and W? You have to go to the end of the line if whatever you call out is a match. Well, it's not very fair when you look at the line and you're like, oh, look, somebody doesn't have shoelaces. Okay, everyone who doesn't have shoelaces, go to the end of the line. So I've been telling the kids, and this was last year too, I've got to make an app for that. And part of what I want to model too is, learning new stuff and figuring out, why would we make an app? Well, here's a reason. This is kind of simple. It's just going to be a random generator of a list. But anyway, Hopscotch is a free app for the iPad. Amy and I both have carts of iPads in our classroom. We're very blessed to have those, and so anyway, we're gonna do a hopscotch unit where it's gonna basically be, again, creating really simple collide games and math figures, or I guess math art, and then hopscotch upgraded last year and changed fairly, quite a bit as far as its interface. So I wanted this summer to get the little book updated that I did. So that's what I'm gonna work on next. But yeah, just like you, pushing things back, taking a little bit more time.
Yeah.
That it happens. But I'm not planning on doing rockets again. My kid, the kids, they have some expectations. They've heard, oh, we're gonna do this, but you can't do everything. And
well, up until this year, I've done something different with fourth grade than fifth grade. So there's 3 years in, there's an expectation of, oh, fourth grade does rockets and egg drop, and fifth grade does such and such.
Right.
This year, everything's new. So
Yeah.
I'm doing the same thing with fourth and fifth grade this year. And so then next year, I will do some kind of egg drop something with everybody, and then some kind of rockets with everybody. But I know what you're saying. If I survive doing the same thing 12 times a day,
Yeah, right.
But my schedule mixed up this year too, and I have a fifth grade, and then two fifth grades, then 3 fourth grades in a row, and then a fifth grade at the end of the day. So it's not enough time to switch out equipment and ideas either. And I've been spoiled to have it the other way, where I had 3 in a row for each one.
Right.
But we don't have that way this year. So.
Yeah. Well, and I think we're going to do Minecraft and then the prosthetic hands. That's going to probably be my biggest stretch of the year, because I have never done that before. And but we may even get a 3D printer by then. I found one that I think will hook to the iPad. There's an iPad app that you can design and print right to a 3D printer. And I found one that's $600, and I've got that $1,200 budget. So I did order some apps. I ordered the green screen app, and I ordered it's Do Ink. It's an animation app. So anyway, and if you want that, the green screen that I got was $150, and I think that's been a really good, addition to the classroom. Right now we've just got silly, of course, mainly silly videos that kids are doing, but how do we learn? We play. We're creative, and so anyway, I'm trying to work through how much I want to give kids challenges and to be specific. I will say this about Minecraft. One of my Maker Studios studio centers or whatever is Minecraft. Flow is this, mental state where you lose track of time. You're so engaged. You're into it. A lot of times that happens when people read. Some people when they run. I'm not that person, but definitely can be with reading. Anyway, flow is the psychological experience, I guess, that transcends or crosses, cultural boundaries and all this. Minecraft is flow. I mean, when kids are in there building, they're in this virtual world. I've got 4 computers, and I literally basically every class have to tear kids, away, and it's like a shocking thing to see that level of engagement. And last year we did some perimeter and area stuff. We did some things with coordinates. Anyway, that's definitely going to be something to continue to iterate on. So I think we probably ought to wrap up. We'll try to maybe set some, not maybe, we'll set some dates for the future, which could continue to be Saturdays, or I don't know, we may do some evenings during the week. But hopefully we could do one of these a month, and we'll get some other guests on here to tell us what they're doing and infuse us with their creativity and ideas. So, you have any closing bits of wisdom, Amy, or thoughts to share?
I really enjoyed the questions today, and it's helped me kind of redirect my thoughts on, empowering the kids to take care of that. I've gotten a little bogged down this week with all the tears, and so I appreciate the suggestions on that and helping me refocus my my instruction there on having the kids and empowering the kids to figure out how to solve that problem, and not having to always look at, for me, and because it's very much tattle. They won't listen to me, instead of the kids turning around and asking the group to listen, and not in a demanding way, but like, I need to help the kids. I need to figure out how to help the kids empower themselves to solve problems as a group. So
that's right.
I like the suggestions on that. So thanks. I think Elaine was the one that was doing that. So thank you, Elaine.
Here's a couple questions too that came in. Sam Patterson. Cindy had asked about Scratch Junior, and he says he's loving Scratch Junior, and he says they've added an EDU app too. So I don't know exactly what that is, but he said it's $10. Allows you to track student progress. But that's something to check out with Scratch. And then Cindy's asking about, she's at K-State teaching pre-service teachers, and all her kids have iPads, and she's wondering about a Minecraft unit. My wife has one-to-one iPads with her 3rd and 4th graders. The challenge, if you don't have Minecraft EDU, which runs on desktop, laptop computers, is that you don't have the control over the environment. Like I have what's called PvP turned off, which is players attacking players. They can't attack each other, which is an important thing. And you can turn off monsters, and you can turn off, I don't know, you have all kinds of control. So anyway, Cindy, I'll do some thinking about that. There are some examples of some iPad-created simulations. Having students build some kind of a simulation, there's several that I've seen. That's definitely a viable project. Okay. Sam is saying the EDU is for Hopscotch, not for Scratch.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, so great. It's very exciting to see them continuing to develop that.
Yeah.
But if you can track student progress, that's fantastic.
That's really great. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm encouraging my wife to think about getting she's got like 3 classroom computers, and getting the Minecraft on those computers. And Amy, that might be something that you could look at doing too. Is just
that's what I was going to ask you, because it's a one-time purchase, right? Once you purchase the licenses, then you just have them.
You just have them. But I just read this week Microsoft is buying Mojang, which created Minecraft. So hopefully they won't do something bad to it. But anyway, that's interesting with the Xbox and all. They're going to pay them $2 billion. So it's something good to have. Most kids they know something about Minecraft and the development and the ways in which, the Swedish company is now being bought for $2 billion, and, people all over the world are playing this. And so
that's because there's a high interest level at my school. So that's something that I am interested in, other than I can't play it, but I'm interested in.
Well, here's how I would, I'm trying to think of an analogy. It's like, there's a magical ring that can make you invisible or just give you superpowers, because when you're in creative mode, you can fly and building. It's like, if we would ignore Minecraft in our schools, it's kind of like, Bilbo discovered the ring, but everyone's just going to keep it in the jewelry box. We're never going to get it out. You're like, what? You're not going to get that out and utilize that? It's such an open-ended environment, and with gaming and gamification overall, I think we run the risk of chocolate-covered broccoli and, oh, great, so now do your math facts in Minecraft. I mean, we're not going to have them do that, but it's so powerful. Kids' level of engagement is just so off the chart. there's so much problem solving and learning, and there's so much expertise that kids have within the environment that it's really beneficial, I think, to find ways to bring it in and to have kids, teaching each other and it's too powerful to ignore, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, you might think about it. I think it's about half price when you buy it educationally, so maybe $15 a license. And I did that through a PO last year, so you could even get 4 licenses or 6 licenses or something like that. I have one computer set up as the server, and then the 4 that connect. And just being in creative mode and having the kids build is a great place to start. Maybe that's something else that we could do more in the STEM Seeds, this year. So, all right. Well, thanks for those folks that have hung with us, and thanks for the questions and also the feedback. And we'll have to check out the EDU version of Hopscotch, and we will let you all know if you're not following us on Twitter at STEM Seeds. That's probably the best way to stay in touch. We'll get it connected earlier, and I'll make sure my microphone works, since that was my problem. But thanks for bearing with us, and have a great rest of your weekend, Amy.
You too, Wes.
Enjoy this weather. This nice, cool weather.
Absolutely.
All right. Adios.
Bye-bye.